Another one. Should end-to-end test be inclusive of all features in a system? Is a halfway approach really acceptable? We have we are having rather we're having a rather complicated dispute at work around this question. We have a poorly maintained set of end-to-end BDD behavior driven development cucumber cypress tests, which are in the process of which we are in the process of fixing, reworking into a usable, maintainable state. I attempted to add a new test to the suite, to which another developer interjected and stated that the test was too heavy on resource usage and the feature could potentially be covered through other means to save on resources. We had a long discussion about this and have ended up in a really murky place. I think that a murky slash picky approach to when tests should exist is bad. A feature built up of stories should be covered by end to end tests with no exceptions, or it calls the value of testing suite into question. They think we can and or should pick and choose what we want to write end to end tests for based on factors such as size and time. Basically, I am very much all or nothing, and they are explicitly wanting end to end tests almost like a last resort when things can't be tested by other means. In my opinion, random coverage erodes confidence, and keeping what tests should exist as a murky topic will result in no one writing tests. Stopping is not really an option here, unfortunately. Thoughts? All right, all right, all right. How like them apples? So our timer is up, and this one is a good question. So all right, you should not have an end-to-end test for everything, right? That is absolutely the worst approach that you can have. Because especially if these okay, so let me just so BDD, so you're using end-to-end test with BDD, Cucumber, Cypress test, which the research. Okay, so what I'm anticipating from you using BDD and Cypress is that these are UI tests, right? And the thing with UI tests is they are very resource heavy. They take forever to run. They are very flaky, right? You should not be dependent on end-to-end tests for your end all be all. The end-to-end test should cover, to me, in my opinion, right? End-to-end tests should cover the critical workflows on your in your application, right? So, if we were to take an e-commerce, for example, right? I would say the tests that run, th- maybe every day, might be every hour, who knows, whatever. But they should be tests that are checking out the critical functionalities of checking out as an existing user, checking out as a new user, checking out as a guest, creating a new account, right? Logging into your account section, and anything else that is very critical that has the most traffic on the site, right? Um, Go through that because those parts have to work, right? But there's so many different features on a website, especially an e-commerce site, such as and part of those tests of like checking out and everything like that, you go through the most common path. So like you go through searching for a product, you go through choosing a size, right? You go through adding it to the cart, all the way till you get to that endpoint, right? You can have another one where you can navigate using the not the search, but using the navigation, like clicking on the women's category, clicking on the subcategory, like that, right? Hitting those critical parts of the site, but it's impossible to to automate every single part of the site, right? So, what is the principle of QA, right? It's the testing pyramid. So, are there unit tests? That's the first question. How many unit tests are there, right? What can be what can be alleviated from the end-to-end tests, right? That can be handled by the unit tests, right? Let me Google this real quick, right? So, testing pyramid, right? Let's see. So we start off with this one that I'm looking at real quick, right? It starts off with unit testing, right? Then component testing, then integration testing, and then it goes to UI and API testing, and then manual and exploratory testing, all the way at the top, right? I would definitely like I disagree with this pyramid because they have UI and API combined. Those should they are not the same. They should never ever be combined, right? UI API is part of it's its own like, it can be part of the integration maybe, but it is not part of it should never be combined with UI. To me, um, the manual and the exploratory testing, they are almost the same as the UI test, maybe, like, right above it, right? But you need to test the business logic as separate as you can um, from the UI. So, what does that mean, right? Are you able to, so you should be able to send a bunch of different parameters, right, to test the login, for example, right, using the API layer, right? Maybe querying the database, whatever the case may be, right? But you should not be having to do a bunch of UI tests where you're testing, for example, oh, if I log in as if I log in as the a valid user, an invalid user, all these different scenarios shouldn't be done on the UI. You should do that on the API, at least on the API level, right? To say, okay, if I send these different parameters, what is the result that I'm going to get? I need to make sure that the user is not able to log in and they're getting an error, right? And now on the actual UI, I could probably like and these tests won't even run on a daily basis. Maybe these tests would run on whenever like a new release is done, but it's going to test if like that an error message is showing, right? But it's not like but we're not doing a bunch of tests on the UI, right? Most of the tests should be done on the business logic where you can run a multitude of tests and they run very, very quickly so you can get immediate feedback. You can't have like your tests running taking hours and hogging up all the resources because it's super inefficient, right? So I would have to side with your developers in this case, right? Because the way like you're not in a murky you think you're in a murky situation, but they are actually from what I'm reading, they are actually correct because um it's a bad approach to have every single scenario with end to end. There there's no all or nothing. You have to choose wisely. You have to approach a testing pyramid, right? You have to approach a testing pyramid, you know? And through that, that's how you will have a successful product testing and product launches and be able to have clear regression tests, right? Because of that immediate feedback, all right? So, I would say go with your developers on this one and go to better structure your test because if you don't, you're going to end up in the same exact spot where you're going to be on a daily basis fixing, reworking unusable, unmaintainable tests on a daily basis. And you don't want to end up in that same spot having too heavy on resource usage tests. All right. So look into that. And, it's not all or nothing. Okay. It is never all or nothing. Approach QA in the right way. There is an art as well to QA. There's a science and an art. The same way that there is a science and an art to writing code. So please do yourself a favor and do it the right way. Okay.
enjoyed the fascinating information shared in this video and you want more, be sure to hit the subscribe button to Tech Coach Ralph to be notified for new videos.
Enigmatic Joker.